Holes like this in football shirts are really quite common, and mending them can be quite a daunting thing, but it doesn't have to be. It's easy when you know how. Stick with us, because by the end of this video I'll be showing you exactly how we mend the holes. And if this video sounds like something you enjoy watching, please remember to click like and subscribe and hit that bell notification down there to make sure you don't miss on any of our future releases. Hello there and welcome back to our channel. Now, football shirts and holes are pretty synonymous with one another. Over the years of mending football shirts, I've seen my fair share of different types of holes in football shirts. They range from things being created by a washing machine to maybe even a moth hole, the odd cigarette burn in a shirt. Loads of different things can cause holes. In today's video, we're going to be taking you through the steps we follow to make the shirts have as near to an invisible mend as possible. There's a few different methods that we've seen people use to mend holes in football shirts, or to mend holes in clothes full stop. You can sew a patch over the top, which is good if you want to kind of create a trendy outfit. Not ideal if you want the football shirt to go back to what it kind of used to look like. Again, you can embroider, which once again, it doesn't necessarily give the shirt, get it back to as near to the original as possible. We've also seen things like you can do invisible stitching, where you kind of weave back in the threads, individual threads of clothing to pull the hole in and the fibres back together. And that's good for things like cotton. But the trouble is with polyester is that it's a little bit more rigid and the fibres are very fine. So it doesn't always give a very good finish. You end up getting this kind of like puckering effect where the material doesn't flatten. But what we have found is that using donor material and using patches and mending glue, etc., tends to give the best outcome. You might remember in a recent video I restored this beautiful United 92 shirt. We made the flock nice and bright and the badge nice and bright, cleaned the collar, put a new name set on. We did all of that and now this shirt looks a lot better. But before it's finished, we need to fix this pretty sizable hole. Look, there's quite a big hole there that we're going to fix. So we're going to take you through how we're going to fix that. We've also got a lovely Sunderland goalkeeper shirt that has a pretty big melt hole in it, and we'll show you how we're going to fix that. So I'm going to take you over to the ironing board and we're going to start. So here's the hole that we're going to mend. Don't know if you can see, if I just put my hand through it, you can see it's quite sizable. So what we're going to do first is go through the equipment that we need for it. So the first thing you need some good scissors, some donor material, some single-sided fusible, some glue powder, magic glue powder, some tape, some water in a bowl, tea towel, doesn't have to be a We Fix Kits one, it can be any tea towel, and a fabric marker that is the colour of the shirt. Have to excuse me, I had a little accident there. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to use the scissors to cut the hardness that's around the hole. It's where the fabrics have kind of melted. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim that all away. So I'll do that and I'll be back. So cut away all of the hardness. Like I say, I've used these scissors. These scissors are Fiskar scissors. I'll put a link to them in the description. They're fantastic for fine work, but they're very, very sharp. So be careful not to cut yourself. Now, what happens a lot of the time, depending on what's caused the hole, because this is effectively plastic or plastic type material, when it gets very hot, it can melt, and the melting creates the hardness. Sunderland shirt, for example, you can look at some of the holes there, and you can see around the edge, it's kind of melted, and that's very typical. So you need to cut that away, otherwise the finish can be a little bit poor. Now the hole's ready to mend, we're going to turn the shirt inside out and we're going to lay it, here we go, lay it over the ironing board. And what we're going to do behind that is we're going to put some silicone paper to stop any of the glue that we're going to use getting stuck. So here is the silicone paper, let's just pull it underneath. There we go. Now what we need to do is we need to cut some of our donor material. Now this material, I bought a whole load of sample colour material from eBay. You can get all different ones. it just so happens that that's the red one that I used. And I've cut it out and it works quite well. Alternatively, you can use material from other football shirts. Ideally, if you've got an identical shirt, you can use that, and then that will really help. Or, and I'll show you this later, you can even take some donor material from the shirt you're working on to get that exact match. But for this one, what we've got here is donor material, and we're just gonna cut around the edges and the corners, because it stops having, if you don't have any sharp corners, it lessens the chances of the material being caught while the shirt's being worn or used in the future. So I just round off the corners. Like I say, it's really important that the material is a fair bit bigger than the hole, so don't cut it too small. So there we go, we've got our material, and that easily covers the hole. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get powder glue, and we are going to sprinkle some of it around the edge of the hole. Now we want to make sure it goes all the way to the edge, but that's why we put silicone paper underneath, because we don't want the glue getting onto the ironing board. There we go. So we've done a little sprinkle of it, and we can put that over the top, and then just stick that down so that it doesn't move. But now around the edges, we're going to want to hold down the edge and just blow away the excess. And the same for this side. It's not got rid of all of it, but it's good enough. We can brush that off after. It's just you don't want too much. Now what we need to do is going to get our tea towel, put it over the top, and with our iron, which is on a pretty hot setting, I don't know if you can see, there you go, it's on a pretty hot setting, we're just going to steam it. Now you've got to be careful, make sure the iron doesn't come into direct contact with the material of the shirt. That will be catastrophic. It will cause the spontaneous melting of the shirt, and we don't want that to happen. So we're just gonna make sure, hold it in place for a bit, keep checking every so often, make sure it's not damaging the shirt. It's absolutely fine. And you really want to do this until all the steam has pretty much evaporated and the water's evaporated from the tea towel. You peel that back now. You can see that the glue's kind of gone. There's still little specks of glue, but what we're going to do is we are going to peel this off. In fact, tell you what, we'll leave that for 1 second. Let's see, make sure, take that out, take the paper out, and fold it over, put it back under, because we don't want any of the excess powder glue that might have gone down onto the paper to get stuck onto the shirt. Now what you're meant to do is leave this glue to dry probably for a good, I don't know, half hour or so. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to speed things up. Go back over the top, dry portion, and just make sure it's nice and secure. We're going to peel the tape off very carefully, because the glue will still be a little bit before peeling the tape away, but if you haven't got that time, then just be careful when you peel it off. Now we're going to use some of this single-sided fusible material, and it's single-sided because, funnily enough, the glue's only on one side, and you can tell which side it is because the glue is the bobbly bit. So if you run your finger against it, this side's bobbly, this side's smooth. So once again, we're going to cut this a fair bit bigger than the patch so that we have it covering the whole of it. Here we go, it's a nice bit bigger, and once again we're going to round off the corners. Here we go. So there you go, it fits over the top nicely. So like I say, you've got to go with the side that is bobbly, not the side that is flat. So we're going to put that over the top. We're going to get our tea towel again, make it wet. We're going to lay it over the top again, get our iron, and again making sure it doesn't come into direct contact with the shirt. We're just going to let the iron on a hot do its thing. Don't leave it in one place for too long, because that could give you a hot spot on the material and melt it. So keep moving it around and just keep checking in the patch underneath. And there is the patch on. So now we need to let that dry, but again, for the purpose of speeding up the filming process, we'll leave that just for a few minutes, and we're going to take the paper out and we're going to turn the shirt, and here we go. Now you can see that there's still a little bit of the glue that's not entirely sewn. Cloth back over the top, press, pick away some of the excess that we can still see. So I'm just going to pick away the last bits and then I'll be back. If you're enjoying this video, please remember to click like and subscribe. It really helps us with the algorithm. And if you have any questions about anything that you've seen in this video or any of the other videos or anything else about football shirt restoration, don't forget we've got our AI powered chatbot, Kit GPT. People send me messages all the time and I try my best to respond. In fact, I make a point of responding to every single message. It just takes me sometimes a week, 2 weeks to do it, given the volume of messages we get. So rather than wait for me, why not try out Kit GPT? It's absolutely free. There's a link to it down below in the description. You can ask it anything. And if I know how to do it, Kit GPT knows how to do it. The excess has been picked away and we're just gonna give it a last press just so the edges go down nicely. And that's the hole fixed for the moment, but we're just going to do a little bit more to add some of the detail from this shirt. You can see it's a lovely patterned. Ideally what you would do is you would get the material to match the lighter portion of the shirt rather than the darker bit, and then you would use the pen to fill in bits. But unfortunately I couldn't get any material that was an exact match for the lighter bit. Because it was quite a large hole, it made it quite difficult. You couldn't really take any from the same shirt. It was too big to find a bit. So we're gonna let everything set, and then once it's cooled down, we're gonna use some of the pen. While we wait for the United shirt to cool down and set, we're gonna work on this Sunderland goalkeeper shirt. Now, I don't know if you can see, but there's a sizable hole. Again, loads of melted material around the outside, but the hole's not that big. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some of this hem material to make a nice donor bit for this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away the melted material and then I'll be back. So we've trimmed away all of the melted hardened bits. Now the problem we've got with this one is that the hole is quite near to a seam. So it means I have a little bit of a challenge with making sure it's hard and fast on there, but that's fine, we'll deal with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of this material, I'll cut it from the back of the hem, and what we've got to try and do is match up the dots exactly with the dots on here. So I want to cut some out and then I'll be back. To cut it out, all I'm going to do is use the scissors. It's really important to have nice sharp scissors, and I'm going to trim along this edge here just to release it from the shirt. You need to get more material than you need because it's got to cover the whole of the hole. So you just trim along here and then you'll be able to just pick the seams out and pick it away. If you get scissors down in there, you can use a stitch cutter, or like I say, if you've got sharp scissors, you can use them, and you just work your way along, making sure you don't damage the material of the shirt, because you don't want to create a hole this side. So I'm going to finish doing this and then I'll be back. If you're struggling with the scissors or you don't have a sharp set of scissors, you can use this sort of thing, a stitch cutter, and you just go along. Like I say, be careful not to cut the material. You just find the stitch and you cut it. You only need to do a few and then you can just unpick along. So there you go, little tip. If you're new to football shirt restoration, or even if you're partway through your journey and you need a little bit of help, why not try out our one-to-one video calling service? We've had tens of different calls with people. Every single one of them benefited from 30 minutes of time dedicated to go through any of the questions they have. So if you're interested in that, drop us a comment below or a DM on any of our social medias and we can arrange one. So I finished cutting the bit out of the hem. Here is the material. I've grounded off the edges so it's ready to use. It's a little bit bigger than the hole, so that's all good. Now, what you're probably going to want to do if you're taking material from here is you're going to want to at least run a stitch there just to stop this all coming undone. This side you're probably okay because it's right on a seam, so there's already a stitch going across. You can run a stitch there as well if you want, but you're definitely going to want to run something there. If there's enough of this material left at the minute, for this one, it's cut all the way down to the edge, so there isn't really much you can do there. But if you're only taking a small portion, you can use some double-sided fusible like Wonder Web to re-stick down what's left of the hem. And then something else you're probably going to want to think about doing is where there's the stitch has been cut there, you're probably going to want to run a sewing machine along there just to kind of do a seam there or a stitch there, just so it looks neat, even though it's not attaching anything. But now we've got that done, we're going to need to start reattaching this bit. And we've got some of the single-sided fusible. So we're going to follow the same process that we followed with the United shirt, and we're going to use some powder glue. So I'll get it all set up. We've left that now for about 5-6 minutes. You can see, I mean, it's pretty good. Don't know about you, but I think that's pretty good. What we're going to need to do now is just get this tea towel wet again and iron this side of it, just to make sure all the edges are down. I mean, that's about as invisible as you're going to get with a football shirt. What we're going to do is we're going to let this cool down for a bit now, and then we're going to use this to go around and on the excess powder to just get it up. But let's let it cool down, and then we'll be back, because we've still got to do the backing, stick the backing on the back. So 10-20 minutes later, it's all cooled down. Just going to use the roller to get up any of the excess. Got to be careful around the edges, because you don't want it to pull on the edge of the hole. There we go, let's got that up. And now for the final bit is to iron this on. So I'm going to turn the shirt around, lay it back over, go. And with the bobbly side down, over the top, tea towel wet, you know the score. Give it a press. And there we go. Right, I'm now going to hang this up to dry, and then we're going to go back to the United shirt and just put that last little bit of detailing on. So here's the United shirt. What I'm going to use is one of these Arteza permanent fabric markers, pens, and I'm going to, let's use the thin end. You can see where the material's darker there than it is there. It's got a nice pattern on it. So I'm going to recreate the pattern. Now these markers are fantastic for matching with patterns, matching the colour and what have you. You can also use them just to go around the edge of the material where the hole is, just in case there's any kind of white or anything along those lines. But I am now going to colour this in, and then we're back. So here is the end result. I don't know whether you can see, look, just at the tip of my thumb is where that mend is. It doesn't get much more invisible than that. We've even matched the dots from this material to the dots on donor material. I'm really impressed with that. And the other shirt, the United Home shirt, it's a little bit hard with this because of the pattern on the material, and we couldn't find material that matched the lightest colour in it. But what we have done, look, there is the mend, and we've used the backing, and then we used a felt tip to just colour on, go around the edges of the mend and colour on in line with this pattern here, so that it blends in. So what did we do? We used donor material from some samples you can buy on eBay, or we used donor material from the hem of the goalkeeper shirt. We used single-sided fusible to attach to the back. We used powder glue to attach the material to the shirt. Do it all with an iron and a damp tea towel. Pretty much all available stuff that you can easily get online without any much big expenditure. And we used the Arteza fabric markers to colour on the bits that needed to be done around the edges. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please remember to click like and subscribe and hit that bell icon, because it really helps us with the algorithm. And if you've enjoyed this video, you're going to want to check these two.